movie opens with reports of a storm in New York City getting worse as a result of an asteroid striking Earth. An elderly woman named Helga, who suffers from dementia, is seen phoning an exterminator due to noises she has been hearing in her residence. When Frank, a man outside the building, notices the Bug Brothers' exterminator firm and summons Helga to open the door, he becomes irate, asking why she contacted someone from the outside when it is his job to do so. Frank enters the room to investigate, where he discovers blood and the injured exterminator after she tells him about the voices she has been hearing. Suddenly, he feels drawn in the direction of the air vents. Helga, who is outside the room, is abruptly drawn in by the TV advertisement. Because of her dementia, she forgets all about this, but a few minutes later, she hears the voices once more and contacts an exterminator. The film then jumps for days in the past, to when an asteroid smashes through the apartment window of a dollhouse, releasing a little spider. Through the air vent in that room, a girl by the name of Charlotte can be seen entering. She approaches the dollhouse and begins to take pictures of the dolls, labeling them as her next target. She hears footsteps approaching as she notices a tiny spider wandering on her hand. She hastily hides the spider in a matchbox and takes him with her. She enters her room via the air vents in the flat she fled from, which belonged to an elderly woman named Gunter. As soon as she notices the window break, she rushes upstairs to complain to Charlotte's stepdad Ethan about Charlotte breaking into her apartment once more. When Ethan questions Charlotte about it, she promptly refutes him, claiming that she has been in her room since the morning. She then names the spider sting and places it in a glass jar. Dad moved home with his girlfriend in Thailand, leaving Charlotte and her mother Heather behind. After that, Heather fell in love with Ethan and was married to him. The two of them have a lovely son named Liam, and Ethan also adopted Charlotte legally. Although Charlotte was the one who hesitated so much to even call him Dad and used to address him by name, Ethan has always thought of Charlotte as his own daughter. In addition to writing comics, Ethan works as the building representative and performs odd jobs like fixing the building's plumbing and garbage disposal. In addition to running her own little business, Heather is the boss of Charlotte, who began drawing at the same time as Ethan and has always looked up to him. The two of them have produced a comic book together, which Heather adores. When Charlotte feeds Sting the bug to eat, he does so right away and becomes bigger. She then starts looking up Sting's species online but comes up empty. To teach him about food that mimics Sting's instantaneously, she whistles a tone that completely astounds Charlotte. She feeds him once more, and he again grows in size almost twice his previous size in every couple of hours. On the other hand, the woman Helga that was seen in the start of the movie is Heather's mother and Charlotte's grandmother. Gunter also lives with Helga and is Heather's aunt. Helga don't even remember that Heather is her own daughter and always considers her an outsider. She even made sweater for Charlotte as a thank you gift, but Charlotte doesn't like it, due to the mothball smell coming from the sweater. Mistakenly, when she tries to feed Sting, a mothball falls down, which scares Sting and immediately causing Sting to scurry away. Maria living alone after a divorce. She was dozing off on the couch when her dog, Bonnie, began barking at what she thought were voices coming from the air vents. Maria wakes up, goes into the kitchen to get her antidepressant medications, and becomes emotional when she sees her family picture. That's when Sting attacks her and secretes his venom inside her, paralyzing her and going inside her mouth and beginning to eat her from the inside. The following day, Ethan hears voices coming from the air vent and finds Bonnie there. He goes to Maria's apartment to return Bonnie, but is terrified when he sees her dead body and realizes how sick she is. He phones the police right away, and they speculate that since she is already depressed, it might be a suicide. Although he stays silent, Ethan knows that her situation was not suicide and that he was afraid for her body. When Charlotte learned of this, she went to see a man named Eric who lives 2 floors down from them. Eric is a biologist and is now working with fish to create pancreatic beta cells in their bodies so that the fish can produce insulin in memory of his mother, who had diabetes. Charlotte demonstrates to him how a sting grows larger and feeds, and she also demonstrates the whistle mimicking that Eric uses to inform her that spiders lack vocal cords. And furthermore, no spider gets bigger with each feeding. He then instructs her to leave Sting with him for a few days so that he can conduct research on him. As soon as Charlotte leaves his apartment, he calls Ethan to inform him of the sting. Ethan then decides to send the sting to the health department, which Eric agrees to do because he works there as well. After telling Charlotte that he has sent the spider away, Ethan becomes enraged with her for hiding the spider because he knows it could hurt Liam. Charlotte becomes enraged at hearing this and yells at him, asking who is he to make decisions for Sting. She wants to stay with her biological father and says, he doesn't even care about you, to which Ethan responds, our father has returned from Thailand 6 months ago. He hasn't even tried to contact Heather or her. She says, he doesn't care about her. He only loves Liam. After hearing this, Charlotte sobs and retreats to her room. However, Heather goes to Charlotte's room and confronts Ethan, saying that he shouldn't have told Charlotte about her father. Eric, who misled Ethan about sending Sting to the health department, has been feeding the animals every hour or two, which has caused Sting's size to increase significantly. He has finally discovered the ideal host for the growth of pancreatic beta cells, and as the Sting's size increases, the pancreatic beta cells will duplicate at night. Gunter was searching for her cat when she heard voices coming from the air vents. She opened it, and the Sting carried her away from those scenes and back to Ethan's apartment, where everyone was having fun. However, Ethan was devastated by the pressure of his job and by Heather and Charlotte's ignorance, and as he was attempting to fix the TV, he broke it out of anger. Heather was prompted to send Charlotte, Liam, and Barney go to Charlotte's room, where Liam questions Ethan about Charlotte, who puts on headphones, watches a drama, and doesn't want to hear her parents fight. Heather notices a Sting on the roof during their argument with Ethan and screams, but the Sting hits both Heather and Ethan right away, paralyzing them with his venom. Because of her headphones, Charlotte can't hear anything when she goes outside to feed Barney. She doesn't see the Sting robbing her of her parents, though, so she goes outside to complain to Heather about Barney's continual barking and the shattered items in the living room and open-air ducts. She puts the shelf in front of it and begins to scream as she realizes that Sting is trying to grab her. Sting tries to push the shelf but is unable, so he climbs through Charlotte's room's vents and takes Liam with him. After discovering that Liam has vanished, Charlotte becomes enraged with Sting and decides to exact revenge. She recalls how Sting became terrified of mothballs and puts on her grandmother's sweater. Charlotte then goes to Helga's apartment and inquires about any strange things she may have seen. Helga informs her that she just saw a large black dog, and when she tried to pet him, he became afraid of her. This shocks Charlotte, and she detects a smell of her grandma's clothes that have strong smell of mothballs. She instructs Helga to phone the police and not to take off her clothing. Afterwards, Charlotte takes some mothballs from Helga's kitchen and blends them. She then fills a toy gun with this mixture, carries extra bottles with her, and bids Helga farewell. She then begins to find Ethan, who is kept in an air vent with Gunter wrapped in Sting's web. When Ethan attempted to remove the webs, he burned his hands, but he saw Sting approaching them and consuming Gunter. Meanwhile, Charlotte goes to Eric's apartment, witnesses all the animal slaughter, realizes that Eric had fed him, and discovers that Eric is stuck to the roof covered in web, terrifying her to the core. When she hears Ethan's muffled scream coming from the air vents, she opens it right away and finds him there. She tells him she will burn the web with mothball water, but he must hold on to some hooks or he will fall. Ethan agrees, and she frees him. However, as soon as they see Sting approaching, they both fall down the air vents and land in a garbage can, trapping Charlotte. When Sting tries to attack her, Ethan shoots him with mothball water, forcing him to retreat from the scene. It cuts to the opening sequence of the film, in which Helga contacts an exterminator. Frank visits her apartment to dispute about Bug Brothers, and Sting kidnaps her. Frank is likewise dumped into the trash can, where he spots Ethan and Charlotte. He yells at Charlotte, telling her that this is all because of her Sting once more, but Ethan scares him away by tossing a tiny ball of water. Then, when Frank attempts to take another bottle from Ethan, he stops him because it's the last one and he can't waste it. Suddenly, the showers open, sprinkling them with water. To combat Sting, Frank pulls out his electric rifle. And Charlotte understands that they are no longer safe because all of the mothball water has been removed from them. When Frank sees that Sting is trying to shoot him, he murders him. Charlotte and Ethan then go to the waste incarcerator, where they intend to crush Sting to death. Ethan enters the prison carrying the remote control, and when they look inside they discover Liam and Heather webbed. When the Sting tries to devour them, Charlotte destroys the web and sets them both free. When Ethan pushes the button, the incarcerator doesn't operate since the plug isn't in. He tries to plug it in, but Charlotte blocks the entry with a metal item to keep Sting from entering. Nonetheless, Sting fractures it. Charlotte grabs the remote right away and presses it, killing the Sting by compressing it. After that, Heather pulls Ethan out of there and performs CPR on him in an attempt to revive him. Thankfully, he wakes up, and she gives him a hug. Charlotte gives him a hug as well, calling him Dad for the first time, which makes Ethan very happy. Heather then joins the hug, and in the final scene, we see thousands of Sting eggs hatch. To ensure you never miss any updates on new videos, kindly click the bell icon and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.